Hey y'all, I have the worst sleep schedule right now because I've adapted to my boyfriend's sleep schedule. So I've been awake since like 5 a.m. I have been waiting for the sun to come up so I can film. So it's 7:30, but I'm back and I have more of your Let's Not Meet stories that oh my god. I picked out a bunch of shorter ones today instead of doing like 3 longer ones, and we have to get into this. This first one says, Tinder guy waiting for me after work. Hey, so this just happened to me and I'm low-key freaked the fuck out. So I work at Walmart, and with everything that's happening, our store closes early while associates stay an hour later cleaning everything for tomorrow. This story was submitted a really long time ago, so this was actually during COVID, I think. This guy I matched with on Tinder and later added on Snapchat snapped me a pic of him in his car. I ignored it because honestly he's kind of a dick, and after that I clock out and I head to my car to leave. As I'm driving, I see a car running at the back of the lot, which is weird. And when I get closer, I see it's the same make of the car he drives, which is a BMW. Don't know how he ended up affording it, but that's beside the point. Freaked out, I check his Snap location and see him in the Walmart parking lot. I never told him where I worked, and I don't have my Snap location on. I've seen him a couple of times while working, but I try my best to avoid him. Doesn't mean he hasn't seen me though. I don't know, I'm kind of freaked out. I don't want to assume that he was waiting for me, but it's weird in my town to be chilling alone in a car. I don't know why, but it freaks me out too. Like, it could potentially be nothing, but I'm like, have you ever Snapchatted him like in your work uniform, or like been at work and been like, I'm at work? Because also, why is he hanging out in the back of the Walmart parking lot by himself? And like, he sent you a picture of him in his car. So I don't know. I'll never put anything past a man. Okay, stalking predator. Hi Courtney. This story is about how me and my ex-friend were stalked for a day when we were 10 or 11. We'll call my ex-friend Lexi. One day in the middle of summer, me, Lexi, and my parents went to Walmart. Oh my gosh. I did not mean to do that. We went to Walmart to do whatever, waste time, grab snacks for later that night. My parents sent us off while they grabbed what they needed, and they said they'll call us when it's time to go. After a little bit, me and Lexi noticed that a dirty, hunched-over man with a gray beard in a flannel and ripped jeans was following us around. We didn't think very much about it, so we kept doing whatever we wanted. After this was happening for a while, we started getting creeped out and realized that he was getting closer every time we saw him. Finally, we got the call saying it's time to go. Once we were leaving, he was still following us, and we didn't tell my parents because we thought he was harmless. We're in the car and we realized that he's also in his car waiting for us to leave. I thought it was just a coincidence that he was also in his car. This is when I start to get paranoid. My mom said we have to go to the bank. We're driving to the bank and I look out the back window and I see him driving behind us. He looked dead in the face. His mouth was straight, eyes wide, eyes were blank. We pull into the bank parking lot and he pulls in behind us. Parents go in. The man parked one space away from my mom's car. We notice that he's staring at us. Again, his face is just blank. He gets out of his car and begins to walk creepily towards our car, and I sit up in the car to press the lock button to lock the doors. He begins to get so close and I was gonna call my mom. He started to try and look into the car's windows. Then he sees my parents coming out of the bank and he runs with a limp to his truck and drives out of the parking lot. Some days I wonder what would have happened if he got close to us in the store, if I didn't lock the doors, or if my parents didn't come out of the bank when they did. So the old creepy man that followed me and my friend from Walmart to the bank, let's never meet again. What the hell? That's so scary and so bold because you are literally with your parents. Like, for him to follow you there is just insane to me. Because also, what if you weren't going to another location? What if you were going home? Actually, that would be worse. Never mind. I was gonna say like, well then he'd be fucked because you're like at home, like it's base or something, because then he would know where you live. So honestly, thank God you like took another stop. But like, I don't know, it's just, Guy in a clown suit tried to kidnap me. Hi Courtney, my name's Caitlin. This is a story about one of the times I've almost been kidnapped. One of them? This took place October 2016 when people would dress up as clowns. That was the worst time to be alive. I had my friend over and we decided to take my dogs for a walk around the neighborhood. My mom told me to take my brother and sister, and after some convincing, we agreed. After a couple of minutes, a black SUV slowed down next to us. Didn't really think anything of it. People would use our street as a back road all the time, so we ignored it and we kept walking. The car turned left and drove by us again a couple minutes later. I thought they were lost and kept going. After about 2 more times of them slowing down by us, speeding up, turning, and repeating, I told my friend they were following us, and we told my brother and sister that we didn't feel good, so we ran just as the car turned left. My brother was the first one to the door and slammed it the second he got in. I told my friend to take my sister and the dogs, and she was the second one in and told my mom what was happening. I waited for the car to come back to make sure we weren't imagining things, and sure enough, it slowed down by me. I don't know why I didn't move. I looked in the window and saw a guy wearing a clown mask with a clown suit. He put his finger to his lips, and that snapped me out of my trance, and I ran up the front porch, almost tripping several times, and I started bawling. My mom made sure all the doors were locked and put the dog door down. We have a Mastiff, so our doggy door is huge. We all sat by the window, and my mom called my dad. The car parked outside of our house for over 5 minutes and finally drove away after my mom threatened to call the cops. It took a while for me to get out and walk around my neighborhood again, and even now, I'm always aware of my surroundings. Seeing as this isn't the first time I've had encounters with this, anyways, creepy guy in the clown suit, let's not meet again. And then they put, the friend with me was also with me the second time I was almost kidnapped. Let me know if you want to hear about the 2 other times. Like, yes, even though this was, again, posted a really long time ago. You guys, I went digging deep. To the girl who tried to stab me, let's not meet again. This all happened when I was 6. I lived in a small trailer park. All the kids would usually hang out with each other and ride bikes. Where I lived was mostly a safe area. We had this neighbor, she had 3 kids, and they were all normal. At first, nothing seemed strange, it was all fine, but like most kids, we all liked someone a little more. So I had a best friend that lived right behind me. Me and her were inseparable. She was 1 year younger than me, but most kids in my neighborhood were that age. There were 2 girls and 2 boys that were older on our road. My neighbor was living in a horrible house, and it was so trashed, dog feces everywhere, it was gross. That neighbor's mom actually went on Dr. Phil because she stole her daughter's bank card. Then they sent someone to take the kids for a bit until she could get her house safe again. Oh, okay. But anyways, me and the girl who lived behind me, we'll call Layla, went to church with each other every Sunday. Before church, we would always play outside. This one church morning, we were outside playing with our Barbies. The one neighbor we'll call Casey came over. She was being normal, hanging out. She was way older than us, about 13 or 14. Then all of a sudden, she pulls out 2 pocket knives. We were scared to death. She was holding both of them to our chests, telling us to be quiet. At this point, Layla was crying. We were so lucky because her family was coming out to take us to church. Casey ran so fast, our parents tried to chase them, but they went somewhere they couldn't find him. Let's just say we did not go to church that day. To the crazy psycho that tried to kill me, let's not meet again. Did anything ever happen to her? Did you ever see her again? I'm assuming you did. Oh my god, that's terrifying, and that bitch deserves to be locked up. Perverted man that tried to kill us in the middle of the night. I can't. I just can't with these. This happened about 2 years ago. I was staying at my friend's house for the weekend. Her parents and siblings were out, so we were home alone. It was about midnight and we were watching a horror film on Netflix. Didn't help. When we heard someone knock on the door. It was an older guy, probably in his 50s. Politely said, "Can I help you?" He replied with, "Yes, I seem to have lost my dog. Would you be a doll and help me find it?" I know, creepy. I said, "Sorry, I can't, but I hope you find him." He just stared at me for about 10 seconds without saying anything. I awkwardly said sorry and closed the door. I'm a very paranoid person and was not about to be kidnapped. I walked back into the living room to look out the window to make sure he left. I watched him get into his car, but he never started it. He just sat there staring at the house. Creeped out, we returned to our movie. A little later, I glanced out the window to see the man walking around the back of the house. There's a staircase that leads to a door that goes to the basement in the back of the house. I don't know what else to do, so I run downstairs to lock the door. As soon as I get to the lock, I see him at the top of the stairs. He just looks at me with probably the creepiest grin I have ever seen. I run back upstairs and tell my friend to lock all the other doors. He starts banging loudly on the door downstairs and continues for about 25 minutes. He finally stops and we sit in silence. Then he starts banging on the picture window at the front of the house with a knife in his hand, yelling at us to let him in. We scream and run upstairs to my friend's room. She lives in the attic with a lower portion of the roof outside of her window. We crawl through the window and climb down the ladder leaning on the roof. We use it to sneak out. We run down the street to her grandparents' house and start banging on the door for them to let us in. Her grandmother answers the door and we rush into the house and tell her to call the police. We left our phones at the house and tell them to turn their lights and sirens off when they get close to the house, so the dude doesn't run off when he hears them. You guys are so smart. I would never think to do that. They get there about 15 minutes later and find him in my friend's room looking through her underwear. I know, what the fuck. He was arrested and charged. He also told the police that he had been scoping out the house hours before. We think he used the ladder to get in. Apparently he had been falsely released from a mental hospital for harassing, and I don't want to read that part. It doesn't seem as scary as it was, but trust me, I was terrified. No, trust me, it seems scary. So perverted man who tried to kill us, let's never meet again. I'm so good. I'm so good on that one. So relieved that the police got there in time, but I'm so sorry, 15 minutes. It took them 15 minutes to get there. There's like no excuse for that, sorry. Like at least they did make it in time, but like they gave them a huge opportunity to escape. Anyways, I picked a kind of funny one because all of those seemed insane. And guess what? They were. So I picked a kind of funny one to be the final story. Don't sit next to a girl who clearly isn't into you. This isn't exactly my story, but I was in close proximity to it. It's not scary in a typical sense, but it's comical and a little bit gross. My dad and I were going down to Florida on vacation. He always booked red-eye flights because they were cheaper. Everything was going great. We boarded the flight, got all comfy. I fell asleep. And then all of a sudden, everything was not going so great anymore. I wake up and there is a putrid smell, god-awful, coming from the row in front of me. I look around and everyone is equally disgusted, including my dad. I ask him what's going on. He didn't explain much at first, but he handed me his hoodie, told me to put it on backwards, put the hood over my face, and go back to sleep. I did as he said. I woke up when we landed and they wouldn't let us deboard the plane. I look down the row and there are about 4 police officers rushing down the aisle to the row in front of us. They grab this guy about college age and yank him off the plane, and the girl sitting next to him's facial expression changed from disgust to relief. I asked my dad what the hell was going on, and he explained. There was a frat boy who had gotten onto the plane with him and his drunk buddies, ready to go to Miami. He originally was sitting in the row across the aisle from my dad and I. He saw the girl in the row in front of us and sat next to her in the empty seat. She was clearly not into him. He still wouldn't leave, and due to him being drunk, he fell asleep on her and proceeded to shit his pants. That's when I woke up. You might still be wondering about why my dad had me put his jacket on backwards. He didn't want the guy to stand up and throw up on me. So to the guy who shit himself on an American Airlines flight, let's not meet again. We're done. Okay, that's all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any weird, creepy, strange stories about stalkers and weirdos, I don't know, I'll have my subreddit linked down below. The video might be a little shorter than normal. I thought picking out like 6 short stories would equal out to 3 long stories, but I think I was wrong. Probably should have picked out like 7 or 8. So I apologize for that, but you live and you learn. But I'm gonna go. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.